All right, so with our handsome Mr. Teddy, ready? We're gonna warm up with some Find It. Ready, Find It? He's gonna get much better at these as he progresses, so don't worry. So we're just warming up with a couple little Find It's to get him in the groove. So that way it's less about, bombarding me. And again, as your puppies sometimes get a little overexcited, remember those mouths do turn into kind of like land shark situations. So if you're finding, nice job, your puppy is sometimes getting a little bit mouthy, do gauge the amount of rest they've been getting, the environment and how stimulating it could be. Right there, yes, we're also capturing any good behavior we'd love to have this handsome guy do again. The benefit too of the Find It is you can then almost reboot him, so he could come back over, re-offer another little sitting position, yes, and then feed for that gorgeous response. So he's been doing a really nice job with all his friends in today for day school. So what I wanted to touch base on was getting your puppy comfortable, like putting on equipment. For a lot of puppies, going and reaching for them or trying to touch them or groom them or put gear on can sometimes by mistake get them a little bit excited, and then also they start to mouth you. Mouthing, though, could also be the beginning stages of I'm feeling uncomfortable and I need more space. So I'm not saying to not ever handle your puppy or practice certain things, but I would highly recommend to check out the Cooperative Care with Deb Jones, like I had mentioned a little bit last week when I was talking about Mr. Bernie getting groomed and things too. Because having a puppy that can be comfortable to offer voluntary positions and touching of body parts can be really great for veterinary care, emergency situations, but also just handling skills so your puppies don't get nervous with certain types of touch or restraints. He's doing a really good job. So when it comes to his harness, what I like to practice is making sure the gear doesn't equal like woohoo, like lose my marbles. For some puppies, putting gear on always equals going out for the bathroom. And the problem there is it could equal a lot of excitement going back outside, going and frolicking. Again, good things, but we don't want to, as he gets bigger and bigger, is to, let's say you bust out your gear or you go to grab your shoes and he starts pummeling you with excitement. It probably won't feel good, but it could also knock you over, and you could be holding the little one, or the little one that is up and more mobile than the itty bitty one, human-wise, may get knocked over. So it can be very beneficial for safety reasons to start helping your puppy learn how to use their bodies by practice. So having them practice in the moment is not conducive because it's already in the real world situation that could be too hard. And your babe probably doesn't even know what to do in the first place, let alone in that scenario. So make sure to kind of think about it as practice well before you need the skill. So that way it's very well mastered and it's easy for your puppy to kind of bring it out, if that makes sense. So let's say, for example, harnesses for some puppies start to equal woohoo, or they start to equal I'm not a little unsure. Sorry. So see, notice how we're getting some excitement. I'm just going to grab a cough drop, not a dog snack. Sometimes as I'm blabbing and the heat is on, my throat gets a little tickly. So right here, I'm going to feed for the softness. If as I grab something, my puppy starts jumping and mouthing, and let's say, for example, I'm like, no, off, down, stop, that's enough, and I start spewing, your puppy may think that is what you're liking because you're barking with excitement. So since your puppy doesn't normally understand language the way we do until we start to create those associations, it's better to think, what would I rather have my puppy do than telling him he's wrong? So remember, right and wrong is a moral sort of construct for us because we understand what we're talking about. For him, he doesn't live by the same rules as us as people. So this doesn't mean he doesn't feel things like getting scared, excited, sort of a little bit overwhelmed. All these things can also happen for him too. Nice job. But we want to make sure that from his perspective, he doesn't understand right or wrong. He just understands safe or unsafe. So right now I have my gear. I might show it to him and then feed. If he thinks it's about mouthing, I want to hold it, but then feed him for doing soft things near it. So I might in the beginning hold the gear, feed him for some beautiful sitting positions or some eye contact. I am using his kibble mixed with some of his treats because I know you said his tummy was a little bit off. Typically, if your puppy does have a sour tummy, It can be, obviously, we want to prevent him getting into things, like there could be bunny poop. But there could be moments too where teething actually tends to also create sometimes looser stools. So it could be one of those situations where there could be a lot of things going on for him. And because of that, then he might get a little bit unsure. Yes. So I want him to just be able to like kind of boop my hand or go smell the item. Nice. So that way this thing is not the most exciting. It's more like just there it is. And then that way he's being fed for all this gorgeous caboose on the floor for now. So if the sitting position seems to be the easiest for your babe, rock it. But don't kind of repeat yourself saying sit 15, 20 times as your puppy is either too overwhelmed mentally or physically to perform. So right here, we might wait for him to either offer it himself, or if, let's say, I really wanted to see if he could rock it, I could ask for the sit. Yes, he's like very hungry hippo. So let's say we're going to practice. I like to then open up my harness. So this is again where his little belly would go. You always think of like the D ring heading towards his back end. And this one does fit him really nice. So I'm going to hold it where you can have it nice and open. This is available so you can put a leg through when we're ready. I sometimes like to practice getting your puppy to, again, offer the nose near the harness. He doesn't have to put it all the way through the hoop of the head loop. If your puppy does some jumping, ignore or redirect to the better skill. Remember, puppies are just doing whatever comes natural to them. They're not trying to do things to spite you or to get you grumpy or to say that they're stubborn or opinionated. I wish their frontal lobes connected that way the way ours do, but theirs do not. So if we're getting jumping, I'm going to turn, let them slide off. I'm not scolding, but I'm going to go ahead and maybe ask for a different skill instead, which could be my sitting position. Nice. So I'm going to go ahead and feed him for that beautiful booty on the floor. I'm going to now try to offer again a little bit where I'm feeding. And the food only comes out when he's putting his head through, if that's what we're working on. So right here, yes. So you could call this like harness, get dressed, whatever you'd like it to be. For right now, I'm not saying anything. I'm just creating the fun associations of putting your head through your equipment. So right here, again, if this was spooky, I would not force him to go faster than he's ready, because then it's just more of a trickery moment, and then he might find it way too spooky. The other option too is while you're practicing is you can also then feed as you put it over his little head, because he's been doing pretty well with it. Now while it's on him halfway, you could, if let's say he starts to kind of go for the gear, is you can either feed the floor. So I like to put a few morsels onto the ground. So that way, as my puppy is enjoying the snack, I can then comfortably leash him while his little face was busy. He's like, that was fun. So if that process was too challenging, you could also use a slow feed bowl as long as your puppy is not showing signs of resource guarding, because we don't want to make them feel overwhelmed as you're reaching or hovering over them and now they have a resource. Remember that for some puppies, certain things are harder than others. But if we're not dealing with any issues, and again, it's not that your dog is bad if they're having resource guarding trouble. It just means that whatever they're working on right now, we need to help them through that. So I might put a little bit of his food, his kibble in here, plop it down, and then practice where we could, for example, unclip the harness, and we could then kind of clip it back on, and then get him cozy with, now he's got his bowl to kind of enjoy the snacks, but it keeps his mouth occupied. Excuse me, so you're not then trying to put the gear together and he's like eating the gear, going for your arms or your sleeves. So that can be a great way to help. But you can also just plop some food on the floor like I did earlier. And then as I'm buckling it around his tummy, he's busy foraging versus wondering what is the harness doing tickling my tummy. But I would highly recommend is to practice putting gear on and off, practice wearing gear in the home, even your leash. Because if the leash only comes out when you're about to go outdoors, the leash is then the precursor to that activity. And it might either make your dog really excited or more apprehensive. So it depends on how they're feeling. So right now, Mr. Hansom's doing a great job with his bowl. So there is the option too for the treat and retreat game when your babe is enjoying their food. So remember that for a lot of puppies and dogs, for example, they maybe didn't show symptoms of resource guarding, but depending on how we've dealt with them, we may have actually created the problem in the first place. So outdated information would be touch your puppy, poke and prod them, be able to take the food dish, give it back, and your babe should be completely benign to that. Remember that if you were enjoying your meal and some person came over and started taking your meal and giving it back, you're not going to be a happy person either. So remember, we too don't like certain social situations because they're conflict driven and they're overwhelming. Remember, your dog is an animal. So because of that, certain resources can seem like if they don't get them or they can't have them, they may not make it another day. They do not realize that you're going to feed them 3 times a day for the rest of their lives until they become an adult, maybe twice a day. So he's like, oh my gosh, Mr. B is singing in the distance. Bodhi says, maybe I would rather wrestle. So let's say for Mr. T, that was very nice. So let's say my puppy is going to be given some of his kibble in his food dish. So I'm going to grab some of the kibble pieces. And then what we're going to do is, even if he gets a little trail mix, not the end of the world. But let's say he's got his kibble and he could be enjoying some of his food or a training treat or chew of some kind. I know we've discussed this a little bit in class where as your puppy's chewing on something, go and toss something and pass by. So the benefit of this is you're building up that when you come near, it makes it even better than if you weren't there. So you approaching doesn't equal the end of the game. The thing is going to be taken away. Because for a lot of people, we tend to be like, don't eat the stick, don't eat the mulch, don't eat the baby's toy, whatever. And we're constantly saying, drop it, and we take it away. That can create a puppy that then assumes every time we come near, we're going to be confrontational or the end of the game or the bringer, of bad. So right here, as he's enjoying his food, ready? He's like, oh, it's all gone. So we put a little bit more kibble in, and I'm going to take some higher value snacks, and I would toss them in or around his area and then walk away. So I always bring it back to, like, I know I've used this at times in classes too, is think that you're having an amazing ice cream cone, and then here comes the topping lady or the topping gentleman or whoever, and you're almost done with all your awesome toppers, and here they come to replenish those toppers as you've been enjoying your ice cream. So someone coming near to refill your amazing ice cream cone or cup is going to be something beneficial versus them coming and then taking the remainder away. So it's really nice. So because remember, if we practice these skills with things he's allowed to have, we're building up good associations that when people are close or coming near, we're not, again, the bringer of conflict. Depending on your dog's comfort range, if you are already dealing with resource guarding, remember to reach out or make sure that you're taking steps to use that are precautionary and for safety reasons. If the dog was already a big resource guarder, I maybe wouldn't even start with a bowl, for example. We would maybe start with a lower value item and then feed higher value goodies for coming in and out of that space and feeding for the dog. Nice job, sir. But then eventually you could do a little, ready, Teddy, find it, and get your puppy up and moving, and then you could take the item out of range for another session. Good job. So if, for example, going and just taking something from your puppy, even though they're seeming benign about it, what kind of association are you creating anyway? So sometimes it may not even be that on purpose you're kind of trying to create that association, but you may by mistake, by being the end of fun, kind of tends to be our game plan by mistake. Nice. So we'll do a little bit of loose leash walking. Beautiful. So that little positive interrupter is just that little kissy noise to regain his attention. You could, for example, send him away like I did a little earlier with Mr. S, and then go, Teddy, come. Yes, and work a couple little recalls. Beautiful. So I'm going to send him away again with a little find it. Oh, he didn't see it, but maybe he will. He's like, I did not. Ready? Find it. There we go. That's a little easier. Nice. Teddy, come. Yes, what a good job. So I'm going to just give him 2 little snackers for that moment. That was really pretty. So getting your puppy to sometimes move away from you and then reorient is another great way to kind of keep building up that coming into your bubble is a really good idea for him, because this is the age group where they tend to be a lot more interested in you. As they get a little bit older, like hitting more close to 6 months of age, you're heading into adolescence. And just like with us as teenagers, you don't really care about what your parents have to say, even if it's good or bad. So a lot of times as dogs start to hit adolescence, the things you thought were well under wraps and very cozy and comfortable kind of all fall away as if you've never done it a day in your life. So teenagehood can be challenging for both us and for them because they're hitting hormone differences, their developmental stages change. They might hit maybe some more genetically driven behavior as well as they hit adolescence. So if your puppy seems easy peasy now, which is a great start for you too for practice, Remember that if we don't maintain what we're working on through teenagehood, your adult dog that you want for down the road may not happen. So ready, find it. So there's this concept that puppies are blank slates and that you can create whatever you want with a puppy, and that's not really true. Yes, you can sometimes manage the environment and prevent potential negative associations or trauma, but in general, you're going to also be competing with genetics, with, again, like I mentioned with Mr. S, like what the mother was doing and feeling while she was, again, carrying, but also while her puppies were in utero. All of these things go into behavior as well. And knowing that he is certain breeds too, that are guardian type breeds, you're gonna get very normal guardian breed behavior that normally is not perfect for our lifestyle. So that could include resource guarding of the environment or things or items. It could also be guarding things from coming onto certain premises. So to prevent those types of responses in certain dynamics, we want to show our dogs what we'd prefer and show them that novelty is not something that has to be confrontational or scary. So right here, we're just going to do, again, a little bit more with our wiggling loose leash walk-in. Ready, Teddy? Great name recognition. He's definitely feeling much more comfortable this week than last week. Not that he was nervous, but he wasn't quite as fine-tuned or honed in. Nice. So right here, I'm feeding for all these great moments of near the handler. Yes. He's like, that was delicious. 2, if he is eating your fingers, remember we may want to feed flat palm, like I mentioned for my little one. He's going to go grab a drink while I'm blabbing. So if your puppy is grabbing for fingers kind of hard, it's more than likely, again, he's really jazzed or he's really excited about the food, but he's more than likely getting really overtired. So if you're finding he is a land shark or a piranha with legs, make sure he's spending a good deal of his day taking naps. Also, if you've got littles, which I know you do, there could be moments where he is getting disturbed or woken because of what our activity is like during the day hours. So I would highly recommend, nice job, an hour in or 2 hours in, an hour out, give or take, and sort of rotate that way, in, out, through the whole day. Because your puppy, at this age group especially, is needing more 18 to 20 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. So it really doesn't give you tons of time where the puppy should be up and always awake and functional. Nice job, sir. He's like, this is amazing. So maybe we'll try a little bit with our weights again for Mr. Handsome. So we'll tell him to wait. I'm just going to give him a couple seconds while he's there. And then Teddy, come. Yes, nice job. So we might try again, a little sit. I'm going to feed him for that so he thinks there's value in the sitting too. And then I'm going to tell him to wait. And then I'm going to see if I can add a little bit of movement and see how he feels. He's doing a good job. Teddy, come. That was gorgeous. He almost reminds me of like a little bit of a Leonberger, even though I know he's not. Ready? But he's St. Bernard, Great Pyrenees, and I believe you said German Shepherd. So again, wait. He's a very dapper gentleman. Teddy, come. Beautiful. Smart boy. Ready? You want to do a little find it? So you'll see that I do rotate often for all the beauties in the sense of skill set. I don't want him to become too tired or flustered working one skill over and over for many reps. Like if you were doing recall practice, I would maybe do sometimes 2 recalls. He's like, that went way too far. I might do maybe 2 recalls one day, 4 another, 7 another day. But if he can do an amazing 30, I wouldn't do 30 every time because he's going to get really burnt out, or he's going to think recalls equal, like, again, boot camp of recall time. So right here, all these great real moments of reorientation to me from the environment, really pretty. So right here, I'm letting him get distracted. Teddy, come. Yes, what a good boy. Smart man. So good. You're going to do another find it? He's like, oh my gosh, they blend with the ocean of the dark floor. He's like, then I have to use my sniffer. Ready? We'll do an easy one right there. Teddy, come. He's like, I swear there's more. Yes, what a good boy. But let's say my puppy didn't respond. So either there's a distraction, he got confused, maybe he's tired. So if I were to ever call my puppy, so let's pretend I'm going to throw a few extra snacks to keep him busy. So let's say there's my puppy being distracted in the yard, and I tried saying his name and the C word and nothing happened. I wouldn't say it over and over, but let's say he's over here doing something in the snow. I would then go half the distance from where I first started for pretend, where I called him. And I would go from here half the distance and go, Teddy, come. And he's like, hold up, I swear there's more crumbs. Yes. And then I'd go ahead and feed him for coming into my space. But I might even jackpot that moment because he found it to be a little challenging the first recall. I know I didn't technically ask the first time because I didn't want him to hear it and maybe either, again, respond right there, and then I couldn't show you how to rock it. So with recall, the most I ever call is twice, and I only do it if I think my dog is going to be more than likely functional. If your babe is really pooped out, the kids are running around, their attention span is lacking, I wouldn't keep saying so-and-so come as they're not responding, because then we're losing out on the meaning behind the word and the practice. So right here, I might go, Teddy. Oh, he says, hold on, I found the last one, just like Mr. S when he found his other snack. So let's say I said his name. That doesn't mean anything. It would have to then be asked, so Teddy, come, and that could be a great option. So remember, their name does not instantly mean come when called or do this thing. So I always think of their name as having great name recognition is wonderful. But then if you get their attention, what do you want from them? So like, he's like, how about a sit? That's very pretty. So we want to capture all these great moments where he's doing a really nice job chilling or doing the better skill. So notice how he's barely done some jumping today. So this doesn't mean I've scolded him or he's starting to realize what's right and what's good or what's bad and what's not good, or I can't talk today, so good versus bad. But he's starting to realize what gives him reinforcements he finds beneficial, and then that becomes the norm for him. So with puppies, it's not about scolding things you don't like, because they're, again, a furry little exchange student, and they don't know what the heck you want, verbally, culturally, or physically. So if he has no idea, as opposed to scaring him out of things, let's show him what we want him to do. And I'm not saying this is you guys. I'm just saying for educational purposes for everybody, your puppies, again, just view the world as I'm safe or unsafe. So are we the ones that are adding more feelings of safety or more feelings of confusion, which could lead to more anxiety, which then could lead to other things down the road? He's doing a very good job. Maybe we'll try one more little wait, and we'll see if we can rock it for a few moments. He says, this is amazing. He says, I'm so pooped out. Teddy, come. Good job. 2, if his tummy is still feeling a bit funny, but he's still drinking and eating okay, you can always reach out to your vet just to confirm everything is all right. I'm not a veterinarian. But I know for some puppies, going on a bland diet and then slowly reintroducing their kibble into that bland diet after a few days can be very helpful. There is also Purina Pro Plan, makes a really nice probiotic and enzyme, which can actually help your puppy when they're having bouts of sometimes loose stool. But remember, sometimes loose stools could be a byproduct of something else. So you don't want to like cover it up by adding probiotics if you don't know what the problem is. But maybe it could be sometimes after a worming, your puppy's GI does get upset. So I do typically recommend probiotics and enzymes for your puppies can be really great, and even adults, because if their tummies are already sensitive and now you've added medication, sometimes that can, almost like with us, if we take an antibiotic or something, it can mess up our GI, and you might need to take probiotics and enzymes to build up the flora within your digestive system. Ready? Find it. So, but maybe what we'll do is we'll give him a little breather, and then we'll work a few more little skills with him in a second. He's thinking about grabbing a drink, but maybe he's a little bit more interested in the food. Ready? Oh, you're a brilliant boy. I love the fact that now he's associating come over and then sit my caboose down for something good. But, remember that if your puppy can't offer the sit, that could also be a window into I'm feeling maybe discomfort in my joints. Like if he's having a big growth spurt, he may not feel as comfortable constantly going to a sit. So I would still feed for all 4 on the floor if you're looking for no jumping, if that makes sense. Ready? So we'll do a little find it. We'll give him a little breather, and I want to work a little bit more with a few other skills with this handsome monkey. Good job, sir. So we'll do one more little find it. We'll give it a little breather. Maybe he goes out for a little potty, and we'll start again. Good job.